Schrock Innovations presents the Midwest #1 independent computer repair company with service centers in Lincoln, Omaha, Papillion, Des Moines, and across the country via the Schrock desk. This is Compute This.
Good morning, folks. Welcome into Compute This. My name is Thor Schrock. I'm the owner of the Schrock Innovations Computer Company. We've got 4 locations to help you out when you're having trouble with your technology. Everything from new computers to, we fix broken computers. I was going to say everything from new computers to broken computers, but that kind of sounds like we sell broken computers. The supply chain is not quite that bad yet. So we're not selling the broken ones. But basically anything that has to do with your technology. So whether you're looking for a computer, you have one that needs to be fixed, you have something that's not working the way you want it to. You need some custom software developed to do something specific that your computer or your technology currently doesn't do. Maybe you need a website developed. Maybe you have a piece of technology that has died and you need to recover the data from it. Schrock Innovations has in-house all of the resources and capabilities to do all of these things, and for the most part, not reliant on cloud anything. There's a couple things we use the AWS cloud for, and that'll become important later in the show here. But for the most part, it's all our infrastructure that we build and maintain. Number to join us on the program today, 888-250-2091. As we do every week, we'll give $25 away to one lucky caller who calls in with a question or a statement or just add something to the program. I can certainly talk the entire hour. I've done it before, but it's a lot more fun when we have people call in. For sure. All right. So last week on the program, we told you about the crazy computer supply chain impact and what it's doing to holiday special laptops. We'll have another update on that for you today. We warned you about how to avoid scams online and over the phone this holiday season. There's a lot of them going around, guys. Multiple emails every day. Don't click tracking links in emails. If you need to go track something, go back to where you bought it and track it from there. Just super scary, super sketchy stuff. Your package is delayed. Click this link to approve delivery and avoid the delay. Those are all scams. Don't fall for them. And of course, we've really been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty. There's that one. You can just avoid that one on a principle. I'm not sure if you qualify that one as a scam, but maybe. I don't know. All right. Also, we wondered why there were still Black Friday deals. The supply chain is so bad, right? You can't find anything you want. We had to go to 2 different grocery stores yesterday, which sounds like a total first world problem to have. I had to go to 2 different grocery stores to find a sufficient quantity of Baker's chocolate. First world problem, right? But it's an indication of something that's not quite right. When you go to Hy-Vee and they don't have any at all, and then you go to Target and they've got like 3 blocks of it. And if you're making treat boxes, everybody knows it makes treat boxes. 3 blocks is nothing. So then you have to go to Wally World. And then, of course, they have like cases of it. And my wife and I were wondering, why is it that Walmart seems to be faring so much better than Target, for example, through this supply chain thing? And, I was when I'm listening to the radio, I hear ads all the time. Drive for Walmart. They have their own trucking company. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe they've got their own dedicated freight line. And we talked last week about how some of the big boys are actually chartering their own container ships and sailing them specifically to ports that are not busy, like Florida and the Gulf Coast, to unload, to get their stuff here. Even though it takes a little bit longer by sea, it takes a lot less long as the container ships stretch further over the horizon, is what I'm reading in the news this week as well out of California. So why is it that you can still buy a Black Friday or a Cyber Monday deal the week before Christmas? They're not even renaming the deal anymore. It's just still the same deal. Like, the marketing department only has a limited number of names in this supply chain crisis, so we have to use the same ones over again. Also, we told you about MI6. We don't talk about British intelligence very much, right? The MI6 is the British, CIA basically. They're recruiting talent from private vendors because they have just admitted we can't afford really good people. Because the private sector is paying them so much, we can't hire them away from the private sector. Therefore, we need to partner with the private sector in order to get access to this talent. So they're going to become more public to become more secret. So it's kind of a weird thing. So there was a really good show last week. We had a lot of stuff. We had some James Bond in there. We had some supply chain in there. All kinds of stuff in there. Overcoming adversity. It was a positive, inspiring show. And you can watch it at SchrockInnovations.com. Click on the radio show tab. The video for the show and the Aftershock is both there on that page, as well as the audio. You can also listen to it at any of your favorite podcasting sources. 888-250-2091 is the number to join us on the show today. And coming up on the program today, supply chain surprise. Guess what? Asus laptops are back. I guess it was their turn to come in on the dock. We don't know how many we can get. We don't know how many there are. There are no quantity limits, which is an encouraging sign. Meanwhile, the HP laptops are now unavailable. You know, if we wouldn't have switched to an HP laptop for the holiday special laptop in the middle of the sale, despite having a pre-printed catalog that shows the Asus laptop, they wouldn't have come back. So now we're in the weirdly awkward position of which one do we put on display? Do we put them both on display? We don't really have enough to put both of them on display in all 4 locations. But we do have 4 more holiday special Asus laptops coming to the service center. So we're in this weird situation where you right now can basically, it's your choice of 2 different holiday special laptops for the 2021 holiday special. The HP laptop is an 11th generation i7. The Asus laptop is a 10th gen i7. Performance-wise, you're not going to notice the difference between the two, but if you're one of those people that likes to have the absolute most recent processor in your laptop, the HP is going to be the winner there. The Asus has an internal backup hard drive, a safe and stored backup hard drive. The HP does not. So there's no backup in the HP. Otherwise, everything else is exactly the same. Literally the same. So it's your choice. If having a stable data storage platform is more important to you, you should go with the Asus. If having that 11th gen processor is more important to you, you should go with the HP. So if you're thinking about purchasing, I believe at this point we have 4 HPs in stock and 4 Asus laptops on the way. So yeah, it's a little tight. It's getting snuggy. We're not even paying attention to the 150 unit quantity limitation this year because we're probably not going to hit it, which dovetails with another story we have here on the program. Not out of lack of desire. Some people, they want it before Christmas, and they're making a purchase decision based on the delivery date. And if I can't promise delivery before Christmas, which we're getting, that's why we have them on the way right now, so that when I say we have this many on the way, that's how many that we have on the way that are uncommitted and unsold. We have 8 right now, 8 laptops that are unsold. Obviously, we don't want to have a ton of holiday specials going into the end of the year sitting around, that go unsold. The problem is people will make purchase decisions based on delivery dates and shipping deadlines right now. And as a result, we are trying to make sure that we always have stuff in stock. Because we have been doing that when everyone else's supply chain is kind of sketch, we have sold a lot of computers in the fourth quarter. Like November was an all-time record-setting month at Schrock from a sales perspective. It was phenomenal. I was literally building computers myself in the back room because we couldn't keep up. I was pulling an Elon, if you will. But I'm not cashing out billions in stock. I don't know what's going on there. What am I doing wrong? But I was building computers and cutting my fingers and doing all the things all the other guys do, getting those things put together and getting them ready to go out to you. So that was, that's always a positive thing when you're happy to be busy, because it sure beats the alternative. But we also didn't raise our prices on our computers. I happened to be over at Walmart, as I mentioned the other day, and I took a gander through their electronics department. Ironically, Walmart has more laptops on display than Best Buy. Get this. I saw a really good deal on a particular unit in there that one of my media partners was looking for 13 laptops. And they said, if you see anything that's a good deal, Thor, let us know, and, maybe we'll buy them from you. So I'm thinking, okay, I can trade these for some commercials or something. I'll figure out a cool guerrilla marketing way to utilize these 13 laptops. Hey, this one right here, this one that's, this Chromebook for $209. I'd like to get 13 of those, please. How many do you have in stock, and are there any at the other locations? Because I know they don't have 13. And he is like, well, I don't know. I think he scans it. He goes, this is the last one I have. It's the display model, and it is scratched to heck. And he says, no one else really has any of these, and even if I had 13, I'm only allowed to sell you 2. And what that tells me is there is an imposed quantity limit on everything in the Walmart electronics department, which probably explains why they have so much of everything left. But it's a mile wide and an inch deep, which is kind of what you're seeing at the grocery stores, where the product is stretched across the shelf rather than being deep on the shelf to give the appearance of having a full shelf rather than having an actual large stock of stuff on the shelf. So It's real. Supply chain is real, guys. It's having real impact on businesses, so it's important to take that into consideration. If you are the stereotypical last-minute Christmas shopper, you may have a problem. Now, also, speaking of supply chain, I'm going to ask the question. Last week we talked about why is it that you can still get Black Friday deals and stuff like that. Right now I saw two articles that I'm going to put together into one story today for you. Walmart is selling Apple AirPods at like $50 below the Apple price. Like if you're going to buy AirPods for somebody, you should buy them at Walmart. I confirmed this myself at Walmart yesterday. I'm like, why are you selling them so cheap? He's like, oh, it's just the price. I don't write the prices. I'm like, I'll take 13. He says, you can have 2. So, whatever. And then the second article is lamenting the decline of computer sales. Now, I'm contrasting that with our experience at Schrock in the month of November and saying we had like the busiest November we've ever had in the history of the 22-year history of Schrock. What are you talking about declining PC sales? We had a Windows 11, coming out and obsoleting 80% of the computers out there. There's a Christmas season coming up. We're coming off of a pandemic when people bought a lot of computers that didn't really fit their needs because they had to have something. And now that they can have a little choice, they want to maybe upgrade or change what they have. There's a lot of factors going into why computers would be in demand right now, but they're not. And it's not just computers. It's tablets, laptops, desktops, everything. Nationally, falling demand. So I thought we were in a supply chain crisis causing inflation because people wanted to buy so much stuff. So there's a lot of confusing stuff. So I want to break that down and try to figure out what's going on there. Also, massive AWS outage this week. If you didn't see this week, if you were trying to do something online, whether it's play your Spotify, check the price of crypto at Coinbase, buy something on Amazon. Amazon had a cascade failure in their AWS cloud that literally took half the internet down. Yeah, cloud computing is great, though. There's no reason to have your own infrastructure. That's only things for crazy conservative social media companies. It's like Gab or whatever. They have all their own infrastructure, so they can't be canceled. As a result, no one subscribes to their stuff because every wacko on the planet is on Gab, and you don't want to read that stuff all day. So you kind of want a little bit of editing to keep the really crazy people out. But gee whiz, the other day, Twitter actually censored a CDC story because it didn't match government health requirements for stories. And it was really confusing. It's a CDC story. I thought you were censoring based on CDC stories. I don't understand. But anyway, so, it's one of those things where when AWS goes down or Microsoft's Azure cloud goes down, there are huge consequences. The week before, we saw a huge cloud outage over at Google, if you remember that. That impacted all of Google's online stuff. So what's going on with the digital supply chain, if you will, of digital bytes and bits of data? Also, work from home. Are you working from home right now? A lot of people are. In fact, the radio stations here, the salespeople don't work in the building anymore. A lot of places don't have, like Schrock Interactive staff never came back to the office. They found a good balance for their work at home. Most of them are enjoying it. But this article is telling me that lots of people are actually burning out from working at home. And it's leading to security issues for companies. So I wanted to get your opinion on this and ask you, if you are working from home, give us a call, 888-250-2091, and tell us what your experience has been like. Are you missing the days when you could get away from the house and the noise and everything else and go to an office and work? Or are you enjoying the freedom of being at home and being able to do whatever you want, as long as you have your automated mouse clicker telling the boss that you're there all day? I'm genuinely curious. All right, 888-250-2091, holiday special laptop. As I mentioned, you can have your choice. We have 2 different models available right now, the Asus model and the HP model. The Asus model is the one that was featured in the catalog. That if it's not on the website, it will be back up on the web. We took it down because we sold the last one, and we didn't want to have it up there because the website will allow you to back order, and we didn't want to take back orders from people who thought they would have it before Christmas because we didn't know if we would get more before Christmas. It turns out we are going to get a few more before Christmas. So if you're thinking about a holiday special desktop or laptop for a family member for Christmas, I would strongly encourage you. Desktops we're a little bit better on because we have some of those built ahead. But like your laptop, if it takes 4 days to get here, and if we sell out today, which is entirely possible, and we order more on Monday and they're in stock and we can get them here, that puts them here on Friday the 17th. That's 1 week before Christmas Eve. So your time is rapidly running out. If you want to get a computer for a Christmas delivery, Schrock Innovations can get you a modular computer or a solid-state laptop custom built to your specifications in time for Christmas still, which is something new this year. At this point, usually we are no longer accepting delivery before Christmas orders. But because of the way the supply chain has kinked and because of the way that that's forced us to change the way we do things, a little less profitable, but a little faster delivery times. So a little bit of a trade-off there, but in a world right now that is completely devoid of service in many regards, I struggle. I was talking before the show with the producer about this. I was struggling because for the first time in years, we went to go bowl over at Papio Bowl, and they screwed up on their website. They put out a daily post that said there was open bowling, but they had leagues on a Friday night. Who does leagues on a Friday night? But that's another question. So we couldn't bowl. And so we'd set up a date like 2 weeks before with some of my wife's friends. We were going to go out, and we all have kids, so we never get to go out without the kids with us. And where did we end up going? Dave and Buster's. Yeah. So it was actually pretty fun. I played Hungry Hungry Hippos, and if you ever, you actually sit on the hippo and you pull the thing, and I smoked everybody. I was the hungriest hippo. It was insane. You never want to play me. See, Hungry Hippos, the trick is don't get aggressive. Wait for the balls to come to you and then scoop them up. See? You just got to be patient. But everyone goes after the balls, and you end up knocking them toward me, and then I'm just patiently scooping them up, and you're just getting more frustrated. So you go faster, and you knock more balls toward me, and I just scoop them up. This is like Jeff Bezos. He's just scooping up the dollars. You want it faster, so you buy Prime. He scoops up the dollars. You get it in a week. Why am I paying for Prime? He just scoops up the dollars. It just, no matter what you do, he scoops up the dollars. But anyway, that's beside the point. So we go there, sit down at the table, and we have to order our food, right? So it says wait to be seated. So we stand there, we wait for like 5 minutes. Nobody says boo to us. They walk past us and look at us and acknowledge that we're there and hi, but they don't actually seat us. So finally, there's a table over here in the play area that has a QR code on it. So we go over to that and we scan the QR code. It brings up the menu. You can order right on the website. You place your order, and then it comes to the table. But you check out from the app too. So now I've had to seat myself. I've had to get my own menu. I've had to place my own order. I've had to type in my credit card number. And they ask me, do I want to tip my server? And I'm like, I hadn't seen a server. I hadn't seen a server at all in here. I've seen some Dave & Buster's people running around. And so I'm like, I'm not, did anyone else have a moral, like a question? Like, should we actually tip this person? Because they haven't done anything. I ordered a bottle of water because you can't order a glass of water because apparently the refills are too expensive. So I ordered a bottle of water and I waited 5 minutes for a bottle of water. I could refill it in the bathroom, I guess, if I'm really thirsty. Because I wasn't going to get a refill from my server. So if I was at a regular restaurant, I would have tipped, but I would have probably tipped around 10% because, the service wasn't great. So that's what I did. Then I felt guilt because I was like, I don't know if these people are actually being paid as servers. The way that they're going and doing other things, it doesn't look like the company would get away with that. But you never know these days. And now I'm like, gosh, if that person's getting paid to be a server, and the guy at the table was like, hey, everything's automated here. I'm like, everything's not automated here. We had to do it all. It's automated for them. It's not automated for me. And I'm the one paying the tab. I don't understand how the world turned this way. Where you go into a store and, you get treated like garbage. So at Schrock, we really make an effort to make sure that the customer focus is there. It's important that we have computers in stock so that when you want to buy one, we've got one. And if we have to do some crazy stuff and order processors with Korean print on the boxes because, Squid Games is super popular. If that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do. And then, we'll get the chips in that we need and we'll get the computers built for you and into your hands. So when you're looking for that service that seems to have disappeared from the world, take a look at Schrock. We're doing the best we can to make sure that you experience that every time you come into the service center. 888-250-2091. Going to take a quick break here, guys. When we come back, supply chain questions. Why is it I can buy AirPods for $50 off? Apparently, there's like a glut of AirPods, yet I go into Walmart and they're like, you can have the display model. It's kind of beat up, but you can't have a discount. What's going on with the world right now? We're going to tell you a little bit of what I think is going on coming up next on Compute This.
Schrock Innovations repair technicians also make house calls. Make an appointment and let us bring our award-winning computer support right to your home or business. In 1798, Eli Whitney's Connecticut Musket Factory was the first business in North America to use replaceable parts in a firearm. Before Eli's factory, if your musket broke, you had to send it away to an expert gunsmith for repairs, or just toss it and buy a new musket. Technology manufacturing has come a long way since the 18th century, but you wouldn't know it by looking at today's big box store computers. Dell, HP, Sony, and other manufacturers continue to take away your freedom to upgrade and repair your computer by eliminating expansion and repair options. Some desktops are even powered by a tiny laptop adapter. Schrock Innovations believes in Eli Whitney's idea of interchangeable and replaceable components, and that's why our custom-built modular computers last longer and cost less to repair than computers you see at big box stores. Ask your friends and family how often they replace their box store computers, and they'll probably tell you every couple of years. And what do they do with the old machines? They just get thrown out like broken muskets. Imagine a place where your computer's problems can be fixed quickly and inexpensively. Imagine keeping your computer for 6 years or more. You are imagining the kind of computers we build every day at Schrock Innovations. Our modular systems last longer, perform faster, and cost less over the long term than anything you can buy at a big box store. While the talented technicians at Schrock Innovations can't make you a musket even if they tried, our commitment to the freedom offered by modular computers is the modern-day extension of Eli's innovative musket factory. We think Eli Whitney would be proud, and you can take pride in owning a small piece of American innovation, the modular computer from Schrock Innovations. Compute this pro tip 843. Of all computer failures, the scariest and most expensive is the hard drive. But there are some steps you can take to save money and save your data before it's too late. Detecting failures early is important, so install a free utility like Drive Advisor from driveadvisor.com to monitor your hard drive's health and receive warnings when there's a problem. But most of all, hard drive failures happen slowly, so early detection is key to reducing the repair bill. Second, if your hard drive makes any unusual noises, immediately turn off your computer and do not turn it on again. These issues are physical problems, and the more you try to use it, the worse the damage becomes. Remember that most computer repair shops do not have the specialized equipment needed to recover data from a failed drive. Never open your drive or allow anyone else to do so. Opened drives always cost more to recover. Schrock does not charge for data recovery evaluations and quotes, so let the local pros look at your drive before you make any recovery decisions. This pro tip brought to you by Schrock Innovations Computer Company.
Alrighty, folks, welcome back in. Compute This. My name is Thor Schrock. I'm the owner of the Schrock Innovations Computer Company. One important program note, I do have a correction I have to issue. It is a pretty significant correction, and I want to make sure I get it in rather than sticking it in at the end of the program. You know, with the, yeah, and thanks for listening, and there's a correction. And the lovely Kimberly did tie with me one game at Hungry Hungry Hippos. I did not completely obliterate everybody every game. Once the lovely Kimberly saw my strategy, she emulated it, and we tied. So it just goes to show you, I'm not particularly gifted at Hungry Hungry Hippos. It's just how you play the game. All right, number to join us on the program, 888-250-2091. So as I mentioned, I was at Walmart, and they have an ad. I saw an article online, and so I checked while I was in the electronics section there, and sure enough, they have AirPods on sale, $50 under the price that you could pay on the Apple website. So if you go to Apple's website and you order AirPods, or you go to an Apple store and you purchase AirPods, the price you will pay in those two locations is $50 more expensive than the price you will pay at Walmart. I thought they were in shortage. So as I mentioned, the laptop display I was looking at, they had one in stock and an unwritten quantity limit of 2 on anything. So what is going on? I'm looking at this article on ZDNet that PC makers are starting to focus on business customers as supply chain problems continue. The whole point of the article is retail customers are getting the short end of the stick, that would be you, because they need to make sure businesses have the computers they need. And so they're setting aside the majority of the chips and processors and cards and things for businesses that have specific budgets set aside for tech. You see, the budget doesn't go up in a year unless, because they budget a year ahead, right? Your family, we can raise the price anytime we want because you'll just pay it because you're a plebe, right? You just pay it, come on. But businesses have fixed tech budgets, and we have to make sure that we're able to get all that budget into our company, and we need to make sure the computers are here to do that. Now, in the article, though, the thing that was interesting that really caught my attention, I mean, this is one of the reasons why that Schrock purchases business grade stuff and then repackages it and repurposes it for consumer use, like Sophos, for example. That is a corporate business grade antivirus, software program. Literally, we have never had anybody get infected when they were running Sophos, ever. You can't say that. Even with Norton 360, we had some stragglers walk in infected back in the day. Endpoint did pretty good. We had very few, I think less than 5 a year, honestly. But Sophos, we've been doing this for 2 years. We haven't had a single one because it's just amazing software. But it's business grade. If you go out and try to purchase it, well, the setup is incredibly technical. You can do it. They do sell it to individuals as long as you present yourself as an individual business. And then you have to have your individual network administrator set up the group policy for the Sophos, and it gets a little complicated. So 2020 saw PC sales grow faster than they had in the last decade. Growth continued into 2021, was expected to continue, I should say, into 2021, but was hamstrung by chip shortages. Even the 2020 boom in Chromebook sales for education, because all the kids were schooling from home, so the schools bought a lot of Chromebooks, was down 29% year over year. Now, some of that could just be pandemic drops. So on the Chromebook thing, I'm like, okay, that could be isolated because how often does a school need to buy Chromebooks, right? Industry groups are predicting that shipments of PCs, these are PCs leaving the factories, will decline 3.4% year over year in the fourth quarter right now, basically. So they're making 3.4% fewer computers due to the chip shortage. That tells you how tight the supply chain is. Tablet shipments are faring worse, 8.6% fewer being made. And despite the segment's demand growing by 4.3% annually. They say that all the shortages are supply chain problems. And as a result, the analyst is predicting the boom in notebook sales will make future growth for consumer purchases more difficult in traditional PCs, in part because of supply issues, but also because consumers won't immediately refresh hardware they bought in the last 2 years. That caught my attention. So the industry group is saying people are going to hang on to their computers longer than normal because the industry average is a replacement every 18 months. So if they're saying you're going to hold on to this for more than 2 years, what would cause the needle to move to make you choose to use an existing computer longer than you planned on? Well, the only thing I can think of is the cost of replacing it, right? So when you walk in that Walmart and all of a sudden it's not $50 cheaper, it's $500 more than what you're expecting to pay, then you might decide, maybe I can use this one a little bit longer. The other thing that people always make decisions about in the service center is repair versus replace. You bring a computer into our shop, because I mentioned we do it all with technology. You bring it in and you say, hey, should we fix this computer or should I just buy a new one? And we offer our opinion on that. So if it's not Windows 11 compatible, for the most part, we're telling you to buy a new one just because you'll have to do that in 2025 anyway. So maybe we fix this one, it goes another year, and then you're buying a new computer anyway. So next time you have a problem, you're just going to buy a new one anyway. So just do it now, get it over with. On the flip side, though, especially with our computers, because ours last 4 to 6 years as opposed to the 18-month average, so it makes sense when you're at Schrock to do that. I don't understand why people think that consumers are going to keep like Acer Aspire notebooks, the most problem-prone notebook ever known to man, in our opinion. I have to add that for being very careful. By more than any moment longer than you have to. It doesn't make sense to me why people would do that unless the cost of replacing it was a lot higher, which leads me to wonder. It says the Arrival Analyst Group reported that third quarter shipments of desktops, notebooks, tablets, and workstations fell by 16%. So in the third quarter, it was down 16%. Notebooks were down 15%. Chromebooks were down 23%. So in the third quarter, it was really, really tough to get any kind of tech. Now in the fourth quarter, it's a little bit more available, but the prices are higher. The prices are higher on the end where we're seeing the prices. We have not raised our prices, our public-facing prices yet, but we're selling a lot more computers because we're the only place that hasn't done so already. So just some interesting stuff going on behind the scenes in the supply chain that we're all exposed to every day. 888-250-2091. That number once again is 888-250-2091. We're going to take another break here, but when we come back, you may have noticed last week that some things on the internet weren't working quite right. The first time that I noticed something was wrong was when I was trying to when I logged into my Amazon account and I couldn't pull up any orders that were newer than 2018. Thought that was a little odd. My last order was in 2018. I'm pretty sure I bought something there that morning. So that was the first time I was like, what is going on here? And then it made a lot more sense later on when we found out that Amazon's AWS was actually down. And so we're going to tell you exactly what happened. They've come out with a very, very technical explanation of what happened. We're going to break it down Barney style for you. Coming up next on Compute This.
Update all of your third-party apps on your computer with Secure Updater. It keeps all your apps running smoothly and helps block viruses. Download it for free today at secureupdater.com. Every person listening to this broadcast has either experienced data loss or knows someone who has. When you think about it, you have a lot more data stored in many more places than you'd like to admit. Have you downloaded those videos from your phone, backed up the pictures on your iPad, or even tackled that sometimes daunting task of backing up your entire computer's hard drive? Most people just don't back up their stuff, and that's why Schrock Innovations has one of the most advanced data recovery centers in the Midwest. Equipped with the latest DDI data imaging devices, state-of-the-art custom recovery software, and Omaha's best data recovery technicians, Schrock Innovations has a 96.8% success rate when recovering data from damaged hard drives, flash drives, camera cards, and more. We all know we should back up our data, but if you are ever caught in a data loss nightmare, call the experts at Schrock Innovations to get your data back right where it belongs, safe and backed up on a stable hard drive. Compute This Pro Tip 578. Technology is constantly changing, so how can you tell when the time has come to recycle your old outdated computer and invest in a new one? Experts have rules of thumb and formulas, but Schrock believes the answer is simple. You should replace your old computer when it can no longer do the things you need in a secure way. For example, you should not be using operating systems like Windows XP or Vista because they're no longer maintained by Microsoft and they're not secure. And if your computer cannot run Windows 10, it's probably time to begin saving for a replacement. If your existing computer requires a repair and that cost is 50% or more of the cost of a new computer, it might be time to consider a replacement. But keep in mind, additional costs like data transfers and important software you have to upgrade like genealogy software or Quicken. And also keep in mind that modern computers are engineered to last 18 months for a normal user. And don't worry, you are considered a normal user. Schrock modular PCs and solid-state laptops are specifically designed to last 4 to 6 years for that same normal user, saving your family money and time. This pro tip brought to you by Schrock Innovations Computer Company.
Fox News, I'm Karen McHugh. From the feds to private citizens, help is on the way to the 5 states affected by this weekend's deadly tornadoes. The United Cajun Navy of Louisiana is sending a team to hard-hit Mayfield, Kentucky.
We're gearing up at our facility in Baton Rouge. We have a couple of trailer loads of supplies on the way. We're going to try to be working with some other logistics firms to be able to move supplies closer.
Brian Trashers, a United Cajun Navy spokesman, Kentucky's governor says the number of dead could be more than 100. Congress is expected to raise the debt limit ceiling again this week.
A debt limit bill will need to include a dollar amount. Both the Senate and House are expected to vote on the measure before Wednesday, when the Treasury Department says the debt limit would be reached.
Fox's Jared Halpern. America is listening to Fox News.
Now, the News Radio 1110 KFAB Weather Watch.
After a few high clouds early, mostly sunny skies are on tap Sunday with a high around 52 degrees in the metro. Winds from the south-southwest could gust up to around 25 miles per hour. We'll drop into the upper 20s tonight, partly cloudy with a high once again near 52 on Monday. With Omaha's most accurate forecast, I'm 6 News First Alert meteorologist Mallory Schnell.
All right, folks, thanks for sticking with us through the break there. We appreciate you hanging tight. You're listening to Compute This, and my name is Thor Schrock. I'm the owner of the Schrock Innovations Computer Company, and as I've mentioned previously, if it has anything to do with computers, we handle it over at Schrock, whether it's repairing computers that aren't doing things we need them to do or that have broken, basically. Yes, they do break, and yes, they still can be fixed. Recovering data from crashed devices, hard drives, DVDs, flash cards, all that kind of stuff, solid state hard drives, custom code, custom software, website design and development, corporate service for small businesses. We do it all over at Schrock, and we're happy to help in any way that we can. We have 4 locations to try to have one that's close enough to you to make a difference. The original location is in Lincoln. It's in South Lincoln, just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. In Omaha, we're at 168th and Burke, across the street from the Madhouse. We're not in the Madhouse Mall. We're across the street where things are we're 2 doors down from the toy store. So we do what we can do, okay? In Papillion, 84th and Highway 370 in the Midlands Place Shopping Center, where we're surrounded by medical stuff. And I remember when we signed the lease for that place, the landlord's like, well, you're kind of medical stuff for technology. We'll put you in the medical strip. We're like, okay, sounds good to us. Well, the parking won't be an issue. So that was great there, 84th and Highway 370. And the newest Schrock innovations at 9500 University Avenue, absolutely destroying expectations. Doubled the staff in that service center in the last month. Things are going really well over in the West Des Moines Service Center. So I'd encourage you to check out Ryan and his staff there for Schrock Innovations in West Des Moines, Iowa. The number to join us on the program this morning is 888-250-2091. And as we do every week, we'll be giving away a $25 Schrock Innovations gift certificate to one lucky caller or commenter that gives us a call and participates in the program. Also, right now, we're broadcasting live on Facebook at facebook.com/Schrock Innovations. I want to say good morning to Mary and Randy and Ronald and Winston. Thanks for the audio check, Winston. I appreciate it. Ricky, Alan, Catherine, Bill, good to have you all with us. As normal, the residents of Schrockville are there and ready to go. Also, I want to mention that after the show is over, we do a second show called The After Schrock. It's a Facebook-only show. It goes a little bit more in-depth into things that we don't have a ton of time to get into on the radio, or maybe things that don't exactly fit. And maybe a little more conjecture, maybe just, not newsy stuff. But for example, we're going to give you an update on cryptos this week because weird stuff is happening in the crypto market. Also, why did Jack leave Twitter? Did you hear about this? Jack Dorsey left Twitter. He left it to go run his other company full-time called Square, which has been renamed to Block because it's going to do something with the blockchain, but it's still a square, but it's like a 3-dimensional square. Get it? Block. But yeah, Jack just left Twitter. Just said, okay, I'm done with that. And he moved on to Square, or now Block. But why now? Why now? What's going on there? It wasn't the first time they tried to oust the guy, but we'll go into some details on that during the aftershock there just to wet your whistle a little bit. Also, I want to make sure that everybody knows about a program that we make, a free program called Drive Advisor. I haven't talked about this in the last few weeks because for me, guys, it's repetitive because if I talk about it every week, I'm surely you all know about it. But every week we're bringing in new listeners. Every week people from far-flung corners of the country are finding our show because they're traveling through the area or they're happening upon it on a friend from Facebook. Please share the program. It makes a huge difference. Really appreciate that. But Drive Advisor is a free program that we make at Schrock. There's no strings. There's no catches. There's basically all it does is it sends you an email if your hard drive is starting to fail. Now, not all hard drive failures can be detected in advance, but a lot of them can be. When the size of your solid state suddenly starts shrinking, the capacity gets smaller, that's not supposed to happen. When your hard drive gets too full on a solid state, that can impact the health status of the drive. When your rotating disk hard drive fails to power up from time to time or fails to seek properly or maybe is running on its backup firmware. These are all things that you wouldn't notice when you turn on the computer, but Drive Advisor does. And when Drive Advisor sees something like this, it sends you an email to let you know that your current hard drive's health percentage has changed. In effect, it's measuring heart attacks on hard drives. And as that percentage gets lower, the odds of a catastrophic failure go way up. So Drive Advisor is free. You can get it from driveadvisor.com. Advisor. Drive Advisor. No, it's Drive Advisor because it's made in America. That's right. Drive Advisor was taken. Okay, it's some English thing. I don't know what it is. But driveadvisor.com is where you can find Drive Advisor. Install it on your computer completely free. Monitors your hard drive, sends you an email, and you're good to go. 888-250-2091. So this week, when you were on the internet, you may have noticed a massive outage of some sort. Somewhere you may have noticed it. I noticed something was going weird with Coinbase when I went to check the price of Bitcoin. It wasn't refreshing right. And typically Coinbase only has outages when something wackadoo is going on with the price of Bitcoin, like a huge ramp up or a huge sell off. And because we're kind of in a bearish sentiment right now, I feared that there was a huge sell off in Bitcoin happening. So I kind of freaked out and I was like looking everywhere else, looking to other news sources, but I couldn't find anything wrong. That's because it wasn't Bitcoin's price. Or I mentioned I tried to go check my order status on Amazon for Christmas gifts that I had coming. And I had no orders, which I knew wasn't correct. So that was weird. People reported their Spotify wouldn't play their songs. People's automated doorbells, open signs, anything that was cloud powered stopped working all at once. And it was all because Amazon AWS went offline. So, number one, it was kind of a scary thing to see how cloud dependent everything is. And there's a reason for that. It is so much cheaper. So, for example, Schrock Innovations, maybe it's because I'm becoming a bit of an old man, I guess. I like to own things. I like to have control over the environments that we inhabit, right? So I can host a website on Amazon AWS Cloud for less than $1 a month. It is that cheap to do if you have the technical chops to do it yourself. You don't get any graphical interfaces. You're doing everything on command line. You got to know your stuff. But you can hire a guy who knows his stuff. And if you're managing thousands and thousands of websites, then you can save a lot of money doing that in the cloud, as opposed to the way we do it at Schrock, where we have an actual physical server, a box on a rack at a company called Rackspace. They co-locate it in Texas and Missouri. And that box is where all of Schrock's websites are retained. It's got a rolling 14-day backup in the event of a failure. It's got limited resources. Like if we if we were featured on the Drudge Report, for example, our website would go down because we're on a box. We don't have a cloud backup providing us with that extra secret sauce push, right? But also we're not susceptible to cloud failures. So that's the trade-off, right? You all know about the Schrock desk. I mean, you heard it in the segments and the intro and stuff, that we have a remote help desk that we can connect with your computer remotely and help you when you're having problems. That technology that we have, you can purchase it in two different ways. You can purchase a monthly license for the technology, and then it's all cloud hosted. You don't have to maintain any infrastructure or have anyone on staff that knows how to do anything. It's a great way for really small microservice businesses that have 100 customers or less to get into the MSP game, the managed service provider game, and have all the tools that a bigger company like Schrock would have. And they can serve their clients the same way, unless the cloud goes down, which is what happened last week. And that took all the Screen Connect software down with it because it was all cloud managed and co-located on AWS. So ironically, you had a cloud failure at Amazon knock down 25% of the national PC support capability in one shot. So when everything was down and everyone's like, why is everything down? And they're calling their tech providers. They're like, we can't remote in because it's down. We don't know. Nobody knows. But you see, at Schrock, we don't subscribe to the cloud version of the service. We bought the server. We installed the software on the server. We maintain the security of the software on the server. We run our own shop, our own stuff. So yes, if the internet goes down in the Omaha Service Center, the Schrock desk is down because that's where we're located. That's why we've got redundancies and batteries and things like that in place to prevent that kind of thing from happening. But long story short, guys, if you had anything reliant on the cloud, it went down. Now, why did it go down? This is really interesting. Amazon issued this huge, super technical document about why it went down. It kind of reminds me of those contracts that you read the terms and conditions and you go to read them and you're just like, by the paragraph 3, you're like, oh my gosh, my eyes. It was like that. So I'm relying on ZDNet to boil it down for me because I wasn't going to sit and read the 2,000-page document. Basically, an errant piece of code got changed, and that errant piece of code caused a cascade failure. What is a cascade failure? Think about it like a snowball rolling down a hill. A small problem in the beginning starts to move. A small code update gets changed. That impacts another system in a way that wasn't expected. That system impacts the systems that it works with in ways that are unexpected. Now, those systems have bad data. They were never coded with the possibility of having bad data. So systems that interact with those systems go down. And all of a sudden you have this cascade where things keep failing and nobody knows why anything is failing and you're trying to trace it back to the source. But the problem is somebody at Amazon thought it would be a brilliant idea to put all their mitigation tools on the AWS cloud. Yeah, made troubleshooting it a little rough. The other thing is, so there's some questions. Number one, errant code. Errant code. Was that code that was edited in error? Or was that code that was inserted that shouldn't have been inserted? Or was it an attack? Errant code. Number two, it was a cascade failure. Amazon had no idea where the cascade failure was. That's why it took them an entire day to find the issue, isolate it, and fix it. Because every system, it was a cascade failure. So when everything is crashing around you all at once, and every individual person in individual departments is focused on fixing the individual problem in front of them, but then the tools and resources that they would use to fix that problem are also offline, that's a problem, right? So basically they had to keep tracing up the failure tree until they got to the top of the tree and say, this is where the failure is, but it took them an entire day to fix it. So tracing up the failure tree, I mean, I guess, you're using cell phones at that point, right? Because I'm sure your phone system runs on the AWS cloud too. So you're probably using cell phones, but you're calling people, you're getting to the top of the food chain. That doesn't take an entire day to figure out, okay, the problem starts here and then everything after that is broken. So let's fix what's there. It's almost like they had to guess at what to fix. Like they didn't know what code had been changed in the system. Now there could be a simple explanation for that. It could have been that the log file that records code changes, the version document, is stored in the AWS file system. If that's the case, they wouldn't have had access to it. Other possibilities is maybe they didn't put the code in themselves. Maybe somebody else inserted the errant code. And as a result, they didn't know where it was and they had to hunt it. We don't know. So I'm not suggesting there's anything super conspiratorial going on. What I am suggesting is if you own a business, this is a masterclass lesson in how to not be completely dependent on somebody else's technology. When everyone talks about cloud computing, some people get kind of glazed over. They don't understand what it's in the cloud. What does that even mean? Replace in the cloud with the phrase on somebody else's computer, and it will all make sense. So if someone says it's in the cloud, it's on somebody else's computer. I save my data in the cloud. I save my data on somebody else's computer. Doesn't sound so fancy now, does it? Sounds kind of stupid, doesn't it? Now, it just depends on your friends, I guess, and what kind of computers they have, because some of your friends have really powerful computers. Amazon's got some really powerful computers. Kind of cool to save your stuff there. I back up my photos from my phone on Amazon Photo. I work with Amazon. We use Amazon AWS for Safe Upgrade. So if we would have had a Safe Upgrade hitting at the time that AWS went down, we would have had issues. We have backup servers as well and overflow servers that we could have tapped that are not connected to AWS. So, we have mitigations in place for those kind of things. So I would encourage you, if you own a business, these kind of things, especially in there's a lot of threat actors out there that are state-sponsored threat actors that are looking to disrupt massively infrastructure, supply chains, things like that. Did you know that there's a shortage of cream cheese right now? If you're going to get some schmear for your bagel, you better buy some extra schmear, because apparently the cream cheese factory was hit with a cyber attack, a ransomware attack that knocked them offline for a week in the middle of the Christmas baking season. So now there's a shortage of cream cheese. It's not like they're Canada and they can tap the maple syrup reserve. There's not a cream cheese reserve. Cream cheese can't be stored. You have to make it in real time. So there's a shortage. So if you're having trouble finding cream cheese, that's why. So in a world where a computer virus can impact the production of cream cheese for your bagel on Christmas, please have a mitigation plan in place if you rely on things exclusively in the cloud. You may not even know that you're relying on things in the cloud because a provider that you use may also be reliant on the cloud in ways that you don't know of. Screen Connect sent out multiple apology emails. And we get the emails too because we buy their licenses that's what runs the Schrock Desk, but we're not reliant on the AWS part. But we got the apology emails. We know blah, blah, blah. Your business was decimated by this, blah, blah, blah. We know we're sorry. It wasn't our fault, but we're still sorry, blah, blah, blah. Here are the steps we're taking to mitigate this in the future. They're probably going to add some backup servers, things like that to make sure that critical things can get done, blah, blah, blah. You may not even realize you're dependent on cloud stuff until it goes down, until I wondered why my Amazon Music wasn't working right. It was playing all kinds of weird songs for me that I wouldn't normally listen to, and that would probably have been why. 888-250-2091. We got to take our final break in the program here, guys. When we come back, I want to find out. This is a genuine question. If you're working from home, how are you feeling about that right now? I've heard from people that think it's the best thing since sliced bread. They love it. They're able to maintain a work-life balance. Alfonso's a great example at Schrock Interactive. He's able to take his daughter to daycare, do things. They still use daycare and stuff like that, but he's got a work-life balance. After a certain time, he's not generally available except for emergencies for Schrock-related business. Other people are having a more difficult time separating that work-life balance, and they find themselves working all the time because they're not really measuring the hours they're quote unquote at work anymore. Some people have even resorted to using automated technology. And again, Raj was reminding me The Simpsons predicted this. The automated mouse movers, it was predicted by The Simpsons. I mean, they predict everything. So I want to ask you, there's a story going out about how people who are working from home are burning out. And I want to find out if this is true here or if it's like a national thing, kind of like the dip in demand for computers. We're not seeing that here. I think the dip in demand is the result of you not having any computers for anybody to buy. I think that's the problem. But I digress. So are you working from home and are you feeling burnt out, or are you working from home and you're loving it? 888-250-2091. Want to hear from you next on Compute This.
Now you can configure and purchase laptops, desktops, tablets, and more, all at the new SchrockInnovations.com. Check out our specials for one-of-a-kind discounts and deals.
Remember the good old days when virus detection worked like Where's Waldo? Spot the virus in the striped shirt and you win. Today's infections are changing hourly to avoid detection and use social engineering to trick you into making mistakes. Using yesterday's security to defend against today's threats is like using leeches to stop an infection. It just doesn't work. We recommend Sophos Intercept X, antivirus backed by Schrock's virus-free guarantee. Sophos uses the power of AI to detect the patterns of a virus attack and responds with Schrock's custom actions that stop it fast. With Sophos on your PC, Mac, Android, or iOS device, you get the state-of-the-art protection you need to defend against the most advanced attacks out there. In fact, if your device gets a virus while running Sophos antivirus, Schrock will remove it for free, guaranteed. It hasn't happened yet, and we intend to keep it that way. Ditch your dad's antivirus and keep your device, data, and identities safe with Sophos and Schrock Innovations.
Compute This Pro Tip 178. Those little life-saving surge protector strips are vital to your computer's health and should be used whenever possible, even for laptops. As computers get smaller and more powerful, they're also becoming more sensitive to dirty power, and your power is a lot dirtier than you might think. Even if you have a whole home surge protection, most power surges are generated within your own home. If you've ever vacuumed and seen the lights get dimmer and brighter, you created a surge. Surge protectors can only absorb so much energy measured in joules. When that capacity is exhausted, your surge protector becomes a glorified extension cord and needs to be replaced. You should always look for surge protectors that give audible alerts when they're no longer able to protect your equipment. Schrock recommends these because the lights on most strips are just power lights and they don't tell you when it's time to replace the unit. If in doubt, replace your surge protectors annually to keep your expensive TVs, computers, and other electronic equipment safe. This pro tip is brought to you by Schrock Innovations Computer Company.
Alrighty, folks. Final segment of the program. Thanks for sticking with us today on Compute This. I want to remind everybody that once the show is over, if you join us at facebook.com/Schrock Innovations, you can actually follow the second show, which is the After Schrock. We're broadcasting live there right now. There's a whole side conversation happening about bagels and cream cheese and everything else going on in Amazon Alexas and OneDrive and everything else that you maybe ever wanted to know or never wanted to know about computers is happening at facebook.com/Schrock Innovations in the live stream right now, in Schrockville, as we call it. All right, number to join us on the program is 888-250-2091. Now, I saw this article, and it made me think. It says, everyone is burned out. Let me get back to the top here so I can see the headline. Everyone is burned out, and that's becoming a security nightmare. So this article is taking the work from home movement from a security perspective. But like the story about the supply chain stuff, there are some statistics in here that are pretty interesting. So the premise of this story is people are working from home on technology that may or may not be owned by the company, and they are loading applications that may or may not be immediately authorized by a company. Let me read between the lines for you on this one. People are installing software to simulate work on their computer to trick the monitoring software on their computer into telling their bosses that they're working when they're not. Okay. Sometimes people are using what are called mouse movers, where it performs some repetitive task. Tiny Task has made a comeback. That's a big one, right? Tiny Task, where you can program a set of keystrokes or mouse clicks to go over and over again. Just a tiny task, and it just keeps doing it. And so if the software is automated and no one's actually watching the screen, it's going to look like you were clicking and moving your mouse and doing everything and being quite the productive individual while you were watching, the Christmas concert at the school instead. So that's one side of the equation. The second side of the equation is that when people are getting lax with their security at home, I would argue that people at home have never really been super secure in the first place. But they're getting more lax with their security at home. Their routers are out of date. Have you checked your router's firmware in the last 6 months? If you haven't, it's out of date. Have you checked to see if your router is end of life? Some people keep using their routers. If you've had your router for more than 3 years, there are no more firmware updates for it. Like, you need to buy a new router, like every 3 years. 2 years preferably, 3 years at max. After 5 years, you have a dinosaur, and it's amazing it hasn't burnt out already. So at home, things get lax. People use weak passwords. And because these home computers are interconnecting into work systems, the worry here is that a compromise through a work from home computer will mitigate or will migrate into the main system and then could be disseminated to everybody else as well. Because not everybody is running Sophos, guys. Some people are, Windows Defender is enough for me. And literally it's like, okay, we have a lot of new faces at Schrock. We're hiring pretty extensively because, as I mentioned, November was really busy. Made some training videos, right, to make sure everyone is on the same page with everything. Literally, the guys watching the training videos are like 100%. Like the junior techs are like, is this Sophos thing like really cracked? I've never used Sophos before. And the senior techs are like, been here 2 years, never had a single person come in with a virus. Not a single one running Sophos. You guys are, oh, that's pretty cool. I guess maybe I'll try that instead of AVG. Yeah, you get it at cost, my man. Why wouldn't you do that? All right. So, folks, I want to encourage everybody, take a look over at SchrockInnovations.com. If you're looking for a computer for holiday season, we can still get you a Christmas delivery. We have everything in stock. Everything is in stock. So we can get it to you and get it into your hands before Christmas so you have time to wrap it and give it to your family. Stay tuned for the Aftershock coming up next here at Facebook.com/Schrock Innovations, and we'll see you all again next weekend for another edition of Compute This.
From the Amish Furniture of Nebraska studio, your home for made in the